Public perception of unidentified aerial phenomena focuses on literal extraterrestrial spacecraft. However, statistical anomalies in the actual data suggest a far more complex architecture. Jacques Vallee's alternative model identifies UAPs as interdimensional manifestations, projections directed by a cybernetic control system. This theory treats physical reality as an emergent property of a deeper informational universe, where anomalies function as localized shifts in reality's programming. Researchers who cling strictly to the extraterrestrial hypothesis often overlook the phenomenon's interactive sociological footprint, which is essential to understanding its actual function. Dr. Jacques Vallee approaches the mystery as both an astrophysicist and a computer scientist who helped develop early network technologies like ARPANET. He moved from tracking orbital satellites to building the Archives of the Impossible, a rigorous database of over 500 anomalous events housed at Rice University. This data-centric methodology inspired Steven Spielberg to base the lead French scientist in Close Encounters of the Third Kind on Vallee's life and work. Vallee's background in information systems leads him to analyze anomalies as intersecting datasets, instances of software manipulating hardware. Despite its behavior as an informational projection, the phenomenon frequently leaves behind physical, measurable trace evidence. In 1977, witnesses in Council Bluffs, Iowa, watched an anomalous object hover over a park and drop approximately half a ton of glowing, molten slag onto the grass. To categorize this material, Vallee co-authored a 2022 peer-reviewed paper in Progress in Aerospace Sciences with Stanford professor Dr. Gary Nolan. They used modern mass spectrometry to analyze the physical sample according to a highly structured forensic protocol. This chart displays the elemental composition identified in the sample, a mix of standard industrial components like chromium, titanium, and iron. Isotopic analysis tested for non-terrestrial origins by looking for manipulated ratios, yet the results aligned perfectly with standard terrestrial baselines. Even though the isotopes are terrestrial, the specific composite makeup of the alloy does not match any known human industrial process or construction material. The lack of non-terrestrial isotopes specifically challenges the standard extraterrestrial hypothesis, which expects materials from distant star systems to possess a unique isotopic signature. The forensic data shows an earthly isotopic signature, suggesting the phenomenon manipulates local matter rather than importing materials from deep space. Shifting from material science to systems theory reveals a pattern in how sightings manifest across history. Vallee's control system hypothesis describes the phenomenon as a sociological thermostat designed to regulate human belief structures. A cybernetic system maintains stability by introducing change. When a civilization's consensus reality becomes too rigid, the system injects a targeted anomaly to destabilize those beliefs. Under this thermostatic regulation, manifestations decrease once the societal temperature adjusts and belief flexibility is restored. This conditioning program often employs absurdity, a feature present in everything from historical fairy lore to modern encounters with bizarre humanoids. Absurdity prevents the scientific establishment from cleanly categorizing the event, which keeps the mystery alive and forces the culture to remain flexible. These illogical interactions establish a permanent mythological footprint in human culture without ever providing a definitive answer. The phenomenon operates as an adaptive conditioning program, using interaction to shape human consciousness over the long term. Dimensionalism addresses reports of massive objects, sometimes twice the size of a 747, vanishing instantly without any visible acceleration. Traditional, conventional physics struggles to explain how a massive object can suddenly disappear without any immense linear travel. Vallee's interdimensional hypothesis provides a mathematical framework for this paradox. Under this hypothesis, our four-dimensional spacetime functions as a limited perceptual interface. Spacetime is an emergent property of a deeper informational universe. When a higher dimensional object intersects our reality, it appears in our three-dimensional space as a rapidly morphing shape. To a three-dimensional observer, this transition looks like an object materializing, shape-shifting, and vanishing without traversing space. This dimensional geometry aligns with the simulation hypothesis, where anomalous events represent direct alterations to our reality's underlying code. This models the Council Bluffs slag as a byproduct of an informational system manipulating local physics to assemble terrestrial matter before the program terminates. If reality is an informational simulation, UAPs operate on a layer of code that simply precedes our current understanding of physics. The metallurgical evidence and the cybernetic models merge into a unified framework, the information ecology, positioning the control system between material science and human consciousness. The system's refusal to provide final answers is the primary engine that drives scientific and cultural curiosity forward. Rather than a puzzle to be solved and filed away, the phenomenon is a dynamic force that continuously stretches the boundaries of human comprehension. Modern disclosure attempts often frame UAPs exclusively as military threats or aerospace hardware, which ignores the most subtle categories in the data. To advance, science must look past the constraints of rigid 20th century materialism. Progress requires ontological pluralism, the acceptance of multiple intercepting layers of reality. We must develop new instrumental techniques that analyze consciousness and semiotics as rigorously as we currently measure isotopes. The phenomenon is an active, intelligent participant in humanity's evolutionary timeline, requiring a science that can meet it on its own informational terms. When we imagine first contact, we expect an event where advanced beings cross the vacuum of space in metallic ships and descend from the clouds. The atomic age, the Cold War, and modern science fiction cemented this extraterrestrial narrative in the public consciousness. But the historical record contradicts the space-age timeline. Witnesses described phantom airships moving across the skies in 1896, a chaotic celestial battle over Nuremberg in 1561, and a mysterious flying ship over the Irish monastery of Clonmacnoise in 740 AD. The recorded history of unexplained aerial phenomena stretches back unbroken for thousands of years. If these objects appeared millennia before humans achieved flight or space travel, the standard hypothesis of an exploratory spaceship requires a different framework. Dr. Jacques Vallee approaches this timeline with a distinct analytical background, holding degrees in both computer science and astrophysics. Early in his career at the Paris Observatory, he tracked unexplained aerial phenomena and built some of the first statistical databases of UFO reports. This timeline chart maps the frequency of global close encounters over centuries. The sheer volume of events far exceeds any logical exploratory mission. Instead of a consistent survey, the manifestation shifts appearance and frequency to match its specific era of arrival. These statistical anomalies pushed Vallee away from telescopes. He redirected his focus towards historical folklore, mythology, and the Vatican archives. Evidence from human history suggests the phenomenon belongs more to forensic anthropology than aerospace engineering. Modern reports of interaction often feature specific data points: temporary physical paralysis, missing time, luminous spheres, and small humanoid entities. In his book Passport to Magonia, Vallee identified a pattern he called morphological continuity. This comparison matrix illustrates that medieval folklore about fairies contains the exact structural data points found in modern alien reports. Tropes of hidden realms, missing time, and small beings map directly from medieval demonology to contemporary UFO sightings. The physical evidence also aligns. The magic circles of scorched grass historically attributed to dancing fairies perfectly mirror contemporary reports of circular UFO landing traces. Modern society is interacting with an ancient phenomenon that we have merely rebranded with science fiction vocabulary. This continuity extends into religious history. Many recorded divine apparitions display behaviors mirroring unidentified aerial phenomena. During the 1917 Miracle of Fatima, thousands of witnesses reported a glowing silver disk performing a solar dance in the sky, a classic aerial sighting interpreted through the religious lens of the local culture. Despite their mythic appearance, these events leave behind tangible material. A month after the 1945 Trinity test explosion, an oval-shaped object crashed into a communication tower in the same region, leaving scorched brush. In the 1964 Socorro incident, a local police officer discovered physical traces left by an egg-shaped craft and two small humanoids, including smoldering brush and distinct landing indentations in the desert soil. Because the phenomenon leaves measurable environmental evidence while operating with the fluidity of supernatural myth, it stands outside the known boundaries of physics. Vallee categorizes this dynamic as a control system, an intelligence that deliberately shapes human belief over centuries. The intelligence appears highly adaptive, altering its technological disguise to match the cultural expectations and conceptual limits of the era it visits. It appeared as demons and fairies to pre-industrial peasants, phantom dirigibles to industrial societies, and autonomous drones to the information age. The system maintains an equilibrium, strange enough to provoke awe and influence culture, but never clear enough to reveal its true nature. The historical pattern suggests mainstream science should move past the theory of hardware navigating deep space. Pop culture and filmmakers have heavily reinforced the physical extraterrestrial narrative, including directors who were directly inspired by Vallee's own research. The data points towards entities crossing between coexistent dimensions or parallel realities right here on Earth. This shifts the problem away from aerospace engineering and toward an inquiry into human consciousness and the nature of reality. The historical event suggests that a non-human intelligence has been coexisting alongside humanity on this planet for millennia. Scientific analysis often discards ancient myths, religious texts, and folklore as fiction. Understanding this intelligence requires uniting the hard sciences of physics with history, sociology, and comparative religion. First Contact moves from a hypothetical future event to a hidden thread that has quietly shaped human civilization for millennia.